Hey everyone, it's Bree Halo here, and this is my Terminator makeup tutorial. Old man Terminator makeup tutorial. I don't know, whatever you'd like to call it really. It is more of a imagining of what could happen in the newest installment in the Terminator franchise, Terminator Dark Fate, where we have seen a couple photos so far of Arnold Schwarzenegger in all his bearded glory with his white hair, so that seems kind of interesting. Kind of confusing why the Terminator skin body ages, but I ain't gonna question it. And just the original sort of look that we saw with the Terminator in the first movie, or even the second movie. I haven't watched it in quite a long while, so forgive me if I get a few things wrong. If you like this video, remember to give it a Terminator thumbs up. Subscribe to my YouTube channel, follow me on other social media that I may or may not have, share with friends, family, etc. And as always, leave any questions or comments in the comments box below. All the products used today will be listed throughout the video, and the music used will be listed at the end of the video and listed in the description. If I forget to put it at the end of the video like I did a couple times ago, whoops.
So to start off with the metallic silvery bits, what I'm doing first is laying down the highlights with my white body paint. This is just to keep them a lot more crisp and so that they're not kind of lost or muddied later on. So I'm just applying all of the highlight areas, so around my eye socket, on the side of my cheek, and different other places that would catch the light naturally. Then once all of those are filled in, I'm going in with my silver body paint, just a straight metallic silver body paint, and I'm applying that to the rest of the open areas of my face. Well, not all the open areas of my face, the rest of the areas of the metallic skull.
It's all about humanity. It's all about humanity.
So I've left the open area for the eyeball.
It's all about humanity. It's all about humanity.
And I'm just going in and filling in that pupil with the red. So I'm powdering over the top of the eye with some red eyeshadow just to kind of help set the body paint and so that it's not moving around too much and stays for a lot longer. Then I'm filling in the rest of that eye with the silver body paint. You probably could have just filled all of this in at once, but I like to leave areas open and kind of fill them in sections so I can remember kind of like, oh yeah, this part goes here and that part goes there. Completely up to how you paint and your process, but that's just what's easiest for me. And then I'm going in with more of that white body paint and I'm very, very carefully highlighting just around the outside of the red eye. It is just to one side of it, it's not the whole way around, it's just where I think from my reference picture the light was catching. And I've added a couple of highlight dots onto the eye as well. Gradually mixing in more and more black into the silver body paint, I'm filling in all of the darker areas. So especially around the eye it is getting quite dark, so I'm trying to build up a few layers of the silver, the darker silver, and then pretty much pure black. And just kind of getting that depth in there. It is very hard to see, unfortunately. I'm still working out all the lighting and all that sort of stuff. And a lot of my cameras don't like to film silver or red or green anymore. I don't know why, but it's just how it's turning out. So hopefully you guys can see most of the detail. And once I've filled in the eye socket, I'm just going over the top of the eye as well with a slanted line just to try and make it look like eyebrows kind of overshadowing the eye as well. Then using some more black and silver body paint, I am just creating all the rest of the shadowy areas, starting to build up more of a shadow tone into the silver. Defining that cheekbone a little bit more, the edges of where the skin breaks away and reveals the silver skeleton beneath, and all that sort of stuff. Once I've mapped out where all of the shadows are going, I'm going in with even more black body paint and just a touch of silver, and I'm really defining all of those little details and shadows that I have. Now if I could, I would go pretty in depth with telling you, okay, put this line here and put that line there, but it kind of really depends on you and how you want your Terminator to look. My one was a little tricky since I used, I think it was one of the promo images for the new Terminator Dark Fate movie, and it had the original Arnold Schwarzenegger, but it was kind of like a model, it almost looked like, with the Terminator skull showing beneath the skin, and it was a really good image to use, but the only problem was I could only see a front on view, so I had to use a couple different photos to try and build up where I was getting all of the details from. So it really just depends on what you can pick up and how detailed you really want to get with this one. And I'm adding a couple more holes in the skin on my forehead with some silver body paint and just outlining where the shadows would be with the black and blending that back into the silver. Getting out the white body paint, I'm applying some more highlights, just trying to bring it out a little bit more, bring out those details I've just filled in inside the cheek area, and blending in a few more highlight areas here and there with the silver just to make them pop a little bit more, and so it doesn't look like a big gaping hole in the face.
It's all about humanity.
I'm using a body paint which is practically my own skin tone. I probably could get away with using that as a foundation one day if I run out. And I'm just applying that all to the skin areas of my face, and I do apply this down my neck later, but I didn't film it just because my computer was being weird and just wouldn't want to film it. And I'm making sure to apply that over my mouth as well. Then using the darkest brown body paint I have in my Skintones palette, I am blending that in with a little bit of the original beige skin tone that I used first. And then I'm shading in all of the shadows very, very lightly. I do go in and shade them a bit darker later on, but then they ended up too dark, so then I had to blend over the top of those again. I didn't bother showing you guys because it was just getting a bit repetitive after a while. I'm doing my best to try and emulate more of Arnie's features. He does have a lot longer face than what I have, and with a beard especially it makes it look even longer. So my version kind of looks a little bit squashed up, and it was pretty hard to try and get his features right since he does have like really soft shadows on his face and nothing's like really sunken in or anything like that, so it was kind of hard, but I think I did alright in the end. Probably the eyebrows were my favourite part, just because after I'd filled them in with the brown body paint, I went back over the top just very lightly with some white body paint, and I just kind of caught the hairs with the paint, so I wasn't painting directly onto the brown to try and make it white. I also used the same technique on my hair as well. Again, didn't film it. So a lot of the detailing I end up doing, especially along the jawline, isn't really necessary at all since it just gets covered up with hair later on. At any point that the shadows do get too dark, I do end up going over the top of them quite a few times, blending in multiple levels of the beige tone. So I just go over the top of it with some more of the beige, mix it in with the brown, and try and get a happy medium between the two to try and make it look a bit more like a shadow tone, but not like I've just drawn brown lines on my face.
It's all about humanity.
And I do use my reference pictures heavily, and at one point I was getting quite confused since the picture that I had was reversed to what I needed to do sort of thing on my own face. So I ended up holding it up next to my face and was using the mirror to try and get like a good balance and figuring out where all the shadows needed to be. All of the shadows that I do on the nose, I do go over the top with the beige later because they are quite strong at this point. Moving on to the beard, I'm laying down a base layer with some brown body paint, go over the top of it with some more black just to try and fill in the gaps. Then I use some grey body paint, make it look a little bit more aged, and then the final step is to go over with the white body paint. Now you don't want to completely cover up all of the work you've just done, but you kind of do want to do that as well. It's just to really bring out the white hairs and make it all look pretty cohesive.
It's all about humanity.
So at this point I'm just catching my eyebrow hairs with a little bit of white body paint. I'm not trying to really lay down a lot of white, it's just to catch the hairs and bring them out and make them pop a little bit more and make them a little bit more noticeable and kind of like they're starting to age. So to add all of the gory blood in this one, I am using my red body paint, and I water it down quite heavily in some places just so that the skin really shows through. Same as the metal, I kind of lay down a little bit of the red body paint and almost immediately start to pat it off. You don't want to wipe it, since that could actually wipe off all of the hard work you've just done. And I just pat off a little bit of that red body paint and try and get it to sort of layer it and look like it's just sitting on top of the metal, so it's kind of like blood splattered on there, and
It's all about
kind of on there.
humanity. It's all about humanity.
Just outlining around the edges with the red body paint and continuously blending that out with my finger just to make it look a little bit more natural, so it's not just a line of red around the skull.
It's all about humanity.
Once I've gotten the skull half of my face to a good point, I end up using the red body paint on the other side of my face and just add some more little scratches, bloody spots, that sort of stuff on my face. I try not to go too overboard with it, but when you're missing half of your face, what really is overboard at the end of it? But again, just using the same blending technique, so blending it out
It's all
and
about
reapplying over the top just to really bring it out.
humanity.
Then for my mouth, I'm using a more natural tone, or almost a brownish pink tone on my mouth, and then I'm using my concealer to shade in the edge of my lip a little bit more and blend that into the lipstick just to make it look a little bit more dulled down. And then I'm just using straight concealer on my upper lip as well and just shading that all in.